I'm sounding schizophrenic again. There's no doubt. It doesn't change the math. It's rigged. I'm disengaging. Zig-zagging, sure. But is there a contradiction in there anywhere? Can you find me one? It doesn't change the delegate math. It does change the likelihood a little. I mean, if Hillary gets arrested tomorrow, things change, right? I'll base whatever I continue to rant it on existing polls. But projections of future successes need to be made on analyses of past ones. Again, Ohio was never really serious, but it's hard to see how he can get 60 to 65 in New York when he got 49 in Illinois. Yes, he always had to get 60 to 65 in New York, so what he needs to do hasn't changed. It's all the same path still, but that's a big gap in votes over states that ought to vote similarly. So it's not that what he has to do has changed, it's how likely it is that he'll get there that's changed. But I mean, you're talking about probabilities, so that's the nice thing about uncertainties, right? Is that when you're talking about these broad levels of distributions, it's not enough to say that there's a certain amount of probability that this or that will happen. You say that there's a certain amount of probability that it'll fall into this range of this happening. And when you do that, when I say that the probability, the probability can come down substantially while still maintaining it's still in the same range, right? So, I mean, it's a little bit misleading to talk about probability in terms of like a linear scale. You want to talk about it more in terms of sets, right? So the difference between a 25% probability and a 35% probability is not that much. It's unlikely in both cases. If you do 100 experiments, the 35% will happen more often. If you're doing one, should you base your decision particularly differently based on whether you have a 25 or a 35%? I would say not. I would say that instead of looking at it on this linear scale, you want to put it into brackets. So, 0 to 20, and then, 21 to 40, and, 41 to 60, or whatever, right? And then you've got to, keep in mind that there's going to be stuff like if it's 19, you want to take a gamble of going up or staying where you are, right? But I mean, that's the better way to look at it, right? I haven't crunched any numbers or anything, but I can tell you that it's intuitively obvious that while the probability might have decreased mildly, he hasn't, like the bracket hasn't changed, right? So it's not a big difference. But it's enough to question. Let me rephrase that. He may not have fallen a bracket, but he may have moved almost to the end of it, or he may be in the kind of gray area of those brackets, right? Intuitively. It's a small difference, right? If he had gotten 53% in Illinois, then I would be more confident that he could get to around 60. I was hoping he could get around 60. And like I say, some of the polling upheld that. I would be a lot more excited if he had that extra bit of boost in Illinois. And like I say, I remain skeptical that about ballot stuffing. That 10% bump, or that 10% error, might just be the consequence of a head start for the Clinton camp. So there's articles floating around claiming the lead is too big or the math is fundamentally altered. That it's too late. That's it. It's inaccurate. Okay. Nothing really meaningful changed last night. He still needs to do exactly what he always needed to do, and what he already needed to do. It's just a question of whether it can be done or not that's become a little more in focus, and it's a little deflating. But despite my reactions, okay, the truth is that his chances of winning are not different today than they were yesterday. That's what I'm trying to get across here. And he still needs you to get out and vote in order for him to win. It's just that you have to do it. Will you actually do it? It's more that I'm kind of disappointed in the results, the lower turnout, and I think that the results that we're seeing are indicating that people might be less inclined to go out and actually vote. And so what I'm saying is that it's more that I've lost faith in you as a voter, as a citizen. So be it, right?